Welcome to uARFIDwhatueat, a channel where we deal with some of the issues that somebody with avoidance restrictive food intake disorder deals with on a daily basis. My name is Chris. Today we're going to be trying out a food, and that food is chicken breast. I can't tilt the plate too much or the oil will spill. Alright, so off the bat, as you folks have probably already noticed from this series, I haven't tried a lot of meats yet. And there's two reasons for that. The first reason is that I find meat kind of scary because it's not something I've eaten much throughout my entire life. I've barely had any meat at all. For I'd say the first 25 years of my life, I really didn't eat meat at all until I eventually started trying out really breaded, chicken tender type things. Or popcorn chicken from KFC, that kind of thing. And I wouldn't necessarily say I like meat even now, but I would say I've reached a point where I can at least kind of dabble a little bit in it and try it, give it a chance here and there. And reason two why I haven't really tried much meat yet is because it's difficult for me to know how to create it properly, because I've never really made it before. And if you're somebody with ARFID and you live on your own, it's going to be a real challenge for you a lot of the time to try new foods. Because A, you don't know how to make them a bunch of the time, and B, if you don't end up liking them, you just wasted a bunch of money on a food you're not going to eat. I can't count the amount of foods I've bought in my life just to try them out, to give them a chance, only to find out I didn't like them, and just boom, $5, $10 wasted. And eventually it just gets you to a point where you don't want to try anything. You just stick to what you trust. And that's why people with ARFID, we have our safe foods. This is not a safe food. Chicken breast is a scary thing for me. It's a very dry meat, apparently, but you want to have it juicy is what I'm told. I mean, I hate juice, I hate wetness in my foods. This meat juice, that's a scary thought for me. And this thing is swimming in juice. Appearance-wise, there's plenty for someone like myself to be concerned with. You can see the flesh shaping as it goes through here. You can see muscle and stringy quality through it at times. It does have a good caramelization on the top, which is nice. I'm hoping that gives it a bit of a crispiness. I can see little chunks of fat here and there on it. That's gross to me. I don't like fat. As you can see, it is dripping in juice. We pre-seasoned this, so it's got a bit of salt and pepper on it. That's all it has. Just a little bit of pepper. I don't like a lot of pepper. It's got this kind of rubbery looking quality to it, meat, which I don't like. It does seem kind of flaky in the middle, so it should break off fairly easily, I think. I can see the gelatin fat parts that I really don't like that. Not a smell I'm familiar with really, but not too bad. Actually, a little bit tasty. I kind of like that smell a little bit. Not a lot though. I can even smell some of the oiliness coming off of that, and I don't like that. It feels harder than I expected it to. And it does flake off pretty good. Oh, that does flake pretty nicely. It's tough but tender. That's interesting. Okay. Obviously it's juicy as I'm touching it, so that's gross. Looks the same more or less right through on the inside. I like that. Yeah, as I break this apart, I can see it gets stringy and kind of, I don't know, almost muscly looking. It looks like just tendons or something. I know it's not probably, but that's just what it looks like. The $1,000,000 question is, what does this thing taste like? Yeah, it's so oily. Here we go. All right. Okay. Don't like the texture. It does give. It's not, I wouldn't go so far as to call it rubbery, but it does have a certain rubbery kind of texture a little bit there. I think it's just kind of the way the flesh breaks up in your mouth. The flavor's not terrible. We put a decent amount of salt on this actually, so the flavor's actually not that bad. The juice I don't like because it kind of just goes into your mouth everywhere. I feel like I'd say the texture is the larger concern here actually. Because when I chew it up, it kind of just I get stuck in my teeth actually a little bit, little pieces of it. That's kind of weird for me. And look, hey, I didn't spit it out or anything. That went down pretty easily, actually. This is one of those meals where it's better if I just don't think too much about it, what I'm eating. I don't look at it too much. It's just so easy for me to overthink something like this. This looks really strange. When I've had chicken in any sort of form, it's always breaded. Because the bread gives me a safe, dry texture to work with. There's nowhere there's no crispy, dry texture like that when it's just straight up the chicken breast. See just little pieces flaking and separating kind of. So weird. God, it's so big. And I'll take just a little nibble. Here we go. Yeah, the flavor's not terrible actually. The juice actually kind of tastes like chicken noodle soup. Not that I've had much chicken noodle soup in my life because I don't really like that either really. But I never really mind the chicken broth part of it. This kind of has that taste to it. Funny. I guess that makes sense, right? It's a little strong. The texture, I don't like that texture. It breaks down easy, but it gets stuck in your teeth. It's got a combination of rubbery and sticky at the same time. It's really kind of weird. I You see it, it's just like stringing off in these little pieces. I don't tend to like flakiness in foods. So to have like this combination of flaky and stringy is gross. Looks like a little worm or something. I know it's not. I know this is healthy, but it just, you know, what the mind does. That's not to think about this meal too much. You kind of just have to eat. Let it sit. Absorb it. Yeah, the flavor, honestly, it's not that bad. Like, it tastes pretty decent. It's the texture more than anything that I'm finding troublesome right now. I mean, just the way it stays, I'm not used to eating foods like that. Foods I eat tend to be they break up, they're crispy, they're dry. This is not that, you know, like this food stays around, it hangs out in your mouth, and it kind of gets stuck in your teeth. It's just weird for me. I'm going to try this, like, particularly caramelized part of the skin here. Give that a bite. Yeah, like color changes on the inside too. Like look at this section here. It gets a little browner there. It's just like part of the chicken, I guess, but I prefer foods that are the same way all the way through. So when I'm eating this and I can see different portions of the chicken looking differently, that's just, my mind doesn't like that. All right. It's really juicy. It's really flavorful. It's strong. That's a little much for me. I actually like the idea of this more than I thought it would. I will say that. Parts of this work for me. The chicken flavor really isn't that bad. No, didn't spit any of this out though, or anything like that. It dealt with less fat than I anticipated. I'm happy about that. When I had bacon that had a certain fatty texture to it, quality, this didn't really have that. I'm happy to say that. At least the parts that I've eaten here. But the texture that I did get from the flesh, again, I don't want to say rubbery because that doesn't feel right. This is well cooked. This is very tender in a lot of ways, but it also kind of has this stringy kind of rubbery quality that when you take a bite, kind of just condenses into your teeth and stays there. But honestly, it could have been a lot worse. This wasn't terrible. So overall thoughts here on chicken. The appearance, yeah, I don't like that. There's just a little too much going on. You can see it flaking and splitting and like there's stringiness going on there. That's all kind of gross to me. It is nice and tender. It is splitting apart very nicely here for the most part. But the flaky quality of the skin I don't like. Especially combined with that rubbery kind of quality to it. The color on the caramelized parts isn't too bad. The more whiter part of the flesh just kind of looks a little weird for me. It smells okay. It's not bad. It's not off-putting, I guess, but it doesn't smell great. A soft smell, at least. Not an offensive smell. Texture of this thing is tougher than I expected, but still tender at the same time. The flavor was actually decent. Better than I expected it to be. I think like in a calmer, less juicy explosion of flavor, I think I could like that a little more. So maybe I would prefer this if it was a little bit drier, which is funny because, again, I know people say you don't want dry chicken, but when you like dry foods, I think I just might. But I think that would affect the mouthfeel, and that comes down to the other part here, is that once it's dry, it gets very rubbery to my understanding. So the fact that it was really juicy here helped with that a little bit. It did have a certain tenderness to it, but it was still very rubbery. Meat really does kind of fight back. It's a little tougher than most things I eat. So the stringy kind of rubbery, tough mouthfeel is not for me, especially with that juice attacking me as I go there. But yeah, overall, chicken breast. Not terrible. Could I get through eating this whole thing? Absolutely not. No chance. Absolutely no chance. I could nibble on a couple bites and go, not too bad. But even after like that third bite there, it was getting a little too much for me. And I'm definitely gonna have to revisit this with some breading and some sides, you know, to make it more of a proper meal. But for a meal that I thought there was a very good chance I was gonna have to spit it out and just say no chance to, no, this was actually not too bad. Closer to this than this. But, you know. Alright though, thank you for joining us. This is uARFIDwhatueat. My name is Chris. I really appreciate you spending some time with me today as I try these new foods. And hopefully we'll catch you back here sometime soon. Appreciate it. Again, thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.